Thank you, everybody, for attending this webinar, and thank you again, Dr. Tariq, for the invitation. I would like to talk about the future of workplace, and I would like to take you a little bit through the different things that are happening around us. As Dr. Tariq said, I'm Athanassoulas. I'm the president and CEO of STIRIXIS Group, and the reason that I'm here is that in these 25 years that we've been active, we have done more than 700 projects in 25 countries. Last month, we added Morocco, so it's 25 countries now. And we have received more than 35 international awards for our work. What do we do? And this is important because it gives you the context of what I'm about to say. We work with our clients to maximize their return on investment in projects which have to do with commercial spaces and workplaces. So yes, retail is one part of what we do, but workplaces is also another activity that we're very active in. We are working based on a sequence that starts from strategy. So we understand what the company does, and then we transform this into a workplace that can actually produce the output as a system that we want for our clients. So let me explain what has happened a little bit during the last months, and let's see how this has impacted the work we do and the work you do actually in these workplaces. I'm not going to say a lot about this because we all know how fear impacted most of us, and how fear impacts our employees, how fear impacts our customers, but also the people who work for us, and how we can actually perform in this environment and how long this will last, because it seems that we don't have any medical breakthroughs yet, and fear is not going away for the next few months at least. It is important to talk about disruption in workplace and workplace design, but I have to admit that when we talk about disruption, usually we mean something that was totally unexpected. What we're seeing is an acceleration again, and not actually a disruption. It might look like all hell broke loose, and we are in a completely new situation. Actually, the COVID-19 pandemic has accelerated trends that were already there, socially and in work trends. And in order to understand where we're going at, we need to understand the social trends and the underlying systemic context of what we're about to experience. So there are 4 trends that are social trends and have been there for quite a long time, all accelerated from COVID-19. The first one, unfortunately, is social isolation. In an era where we can connect to anybody, when we can travel freely, where we can actually use technology to bring anyone closer than ever before, people are notably more isolated. And this is the result of case studies and research that has been done worldwide. Although you can connect, whether it's gaming, whether it's social media, whether it's the way we live, people are feeling more and more isolated. And of course, the lockdown has had an impact on that. It has exploded the social isolation. It has exploded difficulties and problems that come with that. Some of them, all countries tried to manage, but some are still here to stay. The second trend that had been going on, and it has again accelerated very much, was e-everything. And when I say e-everything, I don't mean just e-commerce, because it's e-commerce, it's web banking, it's streaming. So the new norm than going out or going to the movies like we used to some years ago. Whether that's the fitness apps that help you and explain to you how you can have the best gym in your house without having to go out from that. So e-everything again accelerated very much. Health and wellness was before COVID-19 a huge trend. You all know that, whether that was being fit, whether that was eating healthy, whether that was niche markets in terms of food, whether it was vegan or gluten-free, or way of living like meditation, it was a huge trend. And of course, right back down to basics, now it has become adamant. So health and wellness and safety has become adamant in a very accelerating form. The last part that has to do with social trends, and actually you can see that all these are interacting with each other. When we talk about systems, and you will hear me talk about systems in a lot of cases during this 15 minutes. When we talk about systems, we have to understand that we cannot see anything analytical. We have to understand that all the things we discuss are interacting with each other, and they produce a new way of living. So cocooning was the result, or a different trend, if you want, of all what happened before. So we had everything. We had isolation, and then we had the platform which was given to us by technology, where we can actually make our home feel exactly as we want it. So the cost of having a very nice screen, or the cost of having high fidelity audio, or the cost of making it adaptable to however we feel through a personal assistant, through building management systems. So all this platform gave us the ability to stay more and more at home. These are the four social trends, the main four social trends that were intensively, if you want, accelerated by COVID-19. So what was the impact that these trends had on work trends? Remote working was not something new. And remote working, depending on the culture, because as Dr. Tariq said, we've worked throughout the world, is in other cases something which is standardized, like Northern Europe, or in other cases it was something that was still something to come, and it was evolving slowly. No doubt, COVID-19 had a rapid deployment of remote working, and by all means, BCG had a report a few weeks ago that said that 300 million people are not expected to return to work ever. So companies have seen that this can work efficiently. People have seen that they might not need to move from where they are in order to work, and that changes very much the speed of what we were expecting to happen. The second part that we want to note is that this change and this accelerating of remote working has an impact on engagement. An impact on engagement which suffers from being remotely. This is understandable. We now do not share the same space. We don't have the ability to chit-chat a little bit in the morning while making a coffee or having a break. And the things we share are a lot more, if you want, superficial or work-related only. So engagement between the people, but engagement also between the employers and the employees, between the company and the people who work, is suffering through that. And this is something that we need to address. The third part, which is also changing, is health and safety in the workplace. Now, based on what we were discussing up to now, there was a huge trend about wellness. The Well certificate was well under the way, and we were discussing about user experience, we were discussing about clean air policy, we were discussing about a lot of elements that make up the best user experience and give you the ability to work and perform in a very nice and, if you want, correctly designed ambience. Now, because of COVID-19, we're down to basics, and this is very important because it will always stay there. So health and safety, as I said before, are adamant to what a workplace has to provide. It's a prerequisite. people cannot work there, they cannot feel psychologically safe, and they cannot perform unless health and safety are guaranteed in a workplace. So these three trends that actually have to do with COVID-19 in combination with the acceleration of the social trends make up a very strange environment of what we're experiencing now. You may call it disruption, but still you can see it as an acceleration, and we can talk a lot if you want about that, because it has to do with the whole way our society is changing, whether that's mobility and autonomous driven cars, or how we will buy, how we will go out, and how we will behave. So how do the social trends and how do the trends that are impacting workplace from COVID end up to how we design today workplaces? The most important thing, and I would like to start there, is that a part of the people that used to work at the office will now not work from the office again. It depends if that is 10, 20, 30%. It depends on the company. It depends on the services that they provide. Of course, if it has to do with production or if it has to do with retail, this cannot be done. But a big percentage of office employees will now work remotely. That means that we will have less people working at the office. It depends, as I said, on the work that we're doing at the office. The second part is the social orientation of the office. So if fewer people are working from the office, who is staying back and who is going to the office, and why are people going to the office? I think it's understandable that people who can work from home do not have to go to the office. People who go to the office will have to interact with other people. So the office will be used for a lot of social interaction apart from the work that is being done there. It will be used to see important clients. It will be used to hold important presentations. It will be used to hold important meetings. So it will have a very different, if you want, direction to what it has now. The third part of how the offices are changing is technology. Technology, not only in the sense that we have to provide, if you want, the means to communicate with everyone who is not working from the office, but we have to provide the best experience and easiest way to connect to the out world, because a lot of clients and a lot of people, again, will not come to the office. And this digital disruption that we heard just before will give us the ability to connect to more markets. And this technology structure is required very much, not only to function, but to provide the ambience and to provide the feel that we need inside workplaces. The next part is how we feel in the workplaces. So we will be fewer. There will be a social interaction as a direction of how we use the office. We will have a lot of technology, but we also need there, because of all the previous things, to have an uplifting ambience. So you will see a lot less of this corporate, if you want, environment, and a lot more of a more engaging, fun, if I can say the word, environment, which is a big need to cater for this psychological safety that we discussed before. I'd like to take 2 minutes to talk about psychological safety before we move forward, because we're going to talk about performance. And actually, I saw someone asking a question about how do you optimize, if you want, the system, given if you want difficulties in cash flow at the moment. We have to understand that in order for a workplace to perform, we need to see it as a system. So as a system, it has the structure, it has the strategy, but in order to optimize the output, we need to optimize it through the work that our people are doing through the workplace. And in order to do that, it has been proven that engagement that everybody is talking about is based on psychological safety. Psychological safety has a lot to do with leadership that Kyriakos Kofinas talked about. It also has a lot to do with the ambience and the environment in which we actually live our days in the office. So let's see what we can do for that. In all this turbulence, I'm avoiding the word disruption again. In all this turbulence and acceleration, I think that there is an opportunity. Of course, I'm not saying that by disregarding the difficulty and the health situation, and I mean no disrespect to everyone who has suffered. But in terms of business environment, there is an opportunity when we discuss about workplace design, about how we're going to treat our strategy, how we're going to plan our strategy ahead for the months or the years to come. The opportunity lies in two different areas, which I'm sure you understand. One is reducing costs. So there will be a disruption, and this time it will be a disruption in commercial real estate. We already see a lot of our clients changing and relocating offices, going to smaller offices, or renovating to sublease, or relocating and changing, if you want, based on all the above that we have discussed. And being in a financial stress, it means that the costs have gone up in terms of priority, and reducing them is extremely important. So real estate costs, maintenance costs, operational costs can all be reduced by redesigning or relocating a workplace. At the same time, when we're moving forward with all the above that we discussed, we are being ahead of the curve, and we're designing a workplace that can actually boost performance. If you want to boost performance, you have to, first of all, make sure that, as we discussed, health and safety are catered for. And then we have to build the infrastructure and the ambience and the tools that can communicate to our people that this is the company for you, we care for you, you can work here, and we believe in you, and we give you the best environment for you to perform. If we do that today, because it is also important when you do that, when you do that today, you boost performance, you safeguard the reputation of the company, because as you know, people talk. Social media is one of the platforms that are used very much for discussing how workplaces and companies deal with the workplaces and the employees. So if you act fast, it is important to redesign and redefine your workplaces. We have to plan ahead. So the whole discussion about social trends and work trends has to do with anticipating the change and proactively, if you want, being ahead of the curve, as I said. It is important to understand that relocating an office or redesigning an office, especially for a lot of people, takes a lot of time. So strategically, there has to be a team together with the people that are experts in this, and your HR and your facility management experts, and a team that can create, if you want, the vision for tomorrow and plan ahead fast. I think redefining the workplace now is an opportunity, and it's a limited time opportunity. And I think that you will agree with me if we say that COVID-19 has proven that only if you act fast, you can actually survive and stay ahead. I think this is extremely important. The last part that I want to touch, and it's extremely important, again, I'm using the same word, is the part we discussed about systems thinking. If we want to move forward, we need to forget the way we have been working in silos, understand that businesses and workplaces are systems. Everything we do is connected and has an impact. And we need to understand that in order to optimize the output, we cannot try to maximize each element. So when we talk about workplace, we have to be one and work with HR. It has to do with the strategy, the vision, the values of the company. It has to do with how we communicate these values internally. It has to do with the financial situation and how we plan what are the offices that we can afford and how we can make a return on investment. It's a whole system that needs to be optimized altogether. This is what we do, and I think this is the most important takeout from our presentation. Again, as with all previous speakers, I would be delighted to hear from you. We've done work in the UAE, we've done work in the GCC, we worked in Saudi, we worked in Oman, we worked from Russia to Nigeria and from Scandinavia. So I'm there for you, whatever you need. I'll be happy to talk about your needs for your workplaces. Thank you very much once again.